What's good? It's your boy Jay, that's me. Let's get into TNA Impact from January the 9th, 2025. An okay show. We are about 2 weeks away until Genesis, and it's shaping up to be a nice pay-per-view for TNA. So a pretty good start to their year so far. But this was an okay show. So we kicked the show off with the first match of the night. That being the System, which is Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. They defeated Eric Young and Steve Macklin, as well as Jonathan Gresham. It was a 6-man tag. So who really cares about any of this shit? Post-match, the System beat up Jonathan Gresham, and then Eric Young and Steve Macklin made the save with steel chairs. Who cares about any of this? None of this shit is important. It seems like Jonathan Gresham is on his way out. So they essentially wrote him off television. He's probably going to go to NXT, just like Jordynne Grace. Hint, hint, hint. They're husband and wife, so why wouldn't they both go to WWE together? If Jonathan Gresham does go to NXT, I could see him maybe being brought in to maybe coach and mentor Charlie Dempsey. Or, you can have him be a member of the No Quarter Catch crew. I think that would be pretty cool. Moving on, we get a really good Joe Hendry video package. So it talks about his life, career, and and the climb to the world title shot in TNA Genesis. So he talks about his early life, music, and his desire to become a professional wrestler. He knew he had to be different than everyone else, which is why he incorporated music. But doesn't Elias do that as well? But Joe Hendry is more over than Elias. Actually, no, they're basically on the same level. But I'm pretty sure if Joe Hendry was on the main roster in WWE, he could get over too. So, yeah. So Joe Hendry talks about starting amateur wrestling later in life and doing well in it. After that, he found TNA wrestling, and he became hooked on it. He said that when he was a teenager, Joe Hendry had a video iPod with one video on it. It was TNA Genesis 2006. Nice. That was a good show. That was a good pay-per-view. That was really good. He said that he was obsessed with it. And now he's challenging for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship at Genesis in 2025. And he feels very fortunate to be in this position. And he knows he couldn't get there without the fans. Nice. Really good stuff here. TNA has to pull the trigger on Joe Hendry. TNA needs to pull the trigger on Joe Hendry. This was a very good video package. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And if they don't pull the trigger on Joe Hendry, then TNA is just an awful wrestling promotion. Seriously. They've got to pull the trigger on Joe Hendry. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Go all the way on this man. Pause. But Joe Hendry is really someone that could put TNA on the map and really be the face of the promotion. Facts. Moving on. So this leads us into a match between Savannah Evans versus Lee, a.k.a. Xia Li. So, Xia Brookside came out and she introduced, she talked about how she was injured, and there was video evidence that showed that she had Savannah Evans beat it TNA Turning Point back in December of 2024. However, Savannah Evans ended up injuring Brookside, and Brookside's not clear to compete tonight. So, Savannah Evans injured someone else too recently, and it turns out to be Xia Li to get her revenge, which she does. So Xia Li defeats Savannah Evans via the Thunderstruck for the 1-2-3. Really good stuff. I like Xia Li. I'm glad that she is with TNA. Hopefully they use her right. She's been gone for a while, though. She was gone for a little while. She was gone for about a good month and a half, 2 months. But I'm glad she's back. So this makes perfect sense. And we'll have to see where this stuff goes. Moving on. So, Gia Miller, she's backstage with Jordynne Grace. Jordynne Grace gets on the mic and tells Tessa Blanchard that she wants to fight, and then Jordynne Grace will be in the ring, and Tessa Blanchard can meet her there. All right. That's okay. Moving on. So, we get a Rosemary vignette. So, she whispers Masha Slamovich's name and some lines from Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven. So, the video has a bunch of cuts of Slamovich down and struggling. Okay, that's cool. Really cool shit. Really cool stuff there. Moving on, let's lead us into the gauntlet match involving Mike Santana versus the Northern Armory. So, Mike Santana has Josh Alexander's headgear, and so he puts it over the ring post. He puts it over in the corner. So, basically, Mike Santana beats up Judas Icarus, and he also beats up Travis Williams, the other guy in the faction. So, he beat them, and then he was about to face Josh Alexander, but he was attacked by the rest of the Northern Armory, and they ended up beating the fuck out of Mike Santana. And so Josh Alexander, he hit the C4 spike, and he reclaims his headgear. Josh then tells Mike Santana that he'll never be the guy, and then he puts his headgear back on. Okay, that's fine. This makes sense, and for whatever reason, they're actually going to do this match next week versus waiting to do it at a pay-per-view. I mean, at Genesis, but maybe it is what it is. I mean, maybe Josh Alexander's contract could be up in early February, like I was, thinking. So, it makes sense. It all makes sense. Moving on. So, the personal concierge, George Iceman, he's in the back with a breaking announcement. He said next week he's going to do something unprecedented. He has a vision of Heather and Ash as the next TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Champions. So therefore next week it'll be a pre-launch championship celebration by Elegance. Nice, really good shit. So apparently TNA has re-signed Ash by Elegance, and they've also re-signed Masha Slamovich, which is great. Great on both ends. They also signed John Schuyler, which is awful. They should have been released him. And they also re-signed AJ Francis, a.k.a. Flop Dollar, a.k.a. Top Dollar. So it is what it is. They had 2 good re-signings, and they bombed on the other 2. So it is what it is. Who gives a damn? But I'm glad that they were able to re-sign some people. Moving on. So Rosemary, my bad. So Rosemary's at a bar. She says that Masha Slamovich is so predictable. She sees the cracks forming in Masha Slamovich because she can smell Masha's. So someone says fear in the background, and Rosemary agrees. Raven enters the frame, which is awesome, and he asks Rosemary if she's ready. It's been a while since Rosemary won a title, so Rosemary grabs Raven by the neck, and he holds a knife to his throat. I'm like, holy shit, what the hell? So Raven suggests that they should have a Ravens Clock Orange match, House of Fun, against Masha Slamovich. So Rosemary is down for the idea. Okay, really cool shit there. Again, I'm thinking that this was going to be saved for Genesis. Maybe it's going to be next week. I don't know. But this is fine. But I would assume they're going to have Masha lose to Tessa Blanchard. That's going to be the main plan. I would say either at Rebellion or Slammiversary. I would say more so Slammiversary, because I'm pretty sure they want to give Masha at least a decent run. So that way you can build up both Tessa and Masha. And Tessa is believable at beating Masha. It's believable. And it shouldn't be a one-and-done type of match. It should be a feud. So they should feud starting at, I would say, Slammiversary up until Bound for Glory. So I think that's what they need to do. And that makes the most sense because Tessa is basically the only credible knockout they have now that Jordynne Grace is basically all but done. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Hopefully TNA does, bring in some more people. Hopefully I've been making phone calls to Mandy Rose and Lacey Evans and others. Maybe Indy Hartwell as well. Maybe she can come in, but we'll have to wait and see. Moving on, the Rascals, they defeat the Good Hands. So they win via the feed them up. Feed them up to the Lions for the 1, 2, 3. Nice. Moving on. So Rhino's in the back. Frankie Kazarian shows up. He approaches him and says that if he sees Rhino hit the gore on Nic Nemeth, he'll be ready. And then Frankie Kazarian just taps his Call Your Shot Gauntlet trophy, and then he walks away. Who gives a shit about any of this garbage? It's not important. Fuck Rhino and fuck Frankie Kazarian. Moving on. So Steve Maclin and Eric Young, they're in the back. They're pissed off. Maclin says that the system crossed the line with what they did to Jonathan Gresham. Message received. Eric Young says they're going to hand out their own kind of justice in their own way. So first class, they interrupt, that being AJ Francis and Casey Navarra. So AJ Francis thought that Steve Maclin and Eric Young were supposed to be tough. They're looking for tag team gold and don't mind stepping over Steve Maclin and Eric Young to get there. And in first class, they're going to go talk to Santino Marella about taking on Eric Young and Steve Maclin next week. Who really cares about any of this shit? I just don't care about it. Moving on. So, the system, they come out again for a second time. This time it's Alicia Edwards and Moose, they come out. And so, Moose says that he's the greatest X Division champion of all time. And at TNA Genesis, Ace Austin's going to find out why one should always trust the system. He's going to beat the hell out of Ace Austin. And he gives the X Division title to Alicia Edwards and tells her to throw it out the ring. He doesn't want to be associated with it anymore because at TNA Genesis, he's going to debut a new title fit for the face of the franchise. And then so Alicia Edwards throws the title off the ring, and then Moose calls the title ugly. And he's upset that he had to carry it around recently. So Andrew Everett, who's been gone from the promotion for about 3 or 4 years now, he comes out to an okay reaction. He says that whenever he was in TNA, the X Division Championship was the only thing he cared about, and he never got a shot at it. He says the X Division built TNA, not the face of the franchise. So Moose is confused. He asked, who the hell is Andrew Everett? Alicia Edwards doesn't know who he is either. And I'm just like, how the fuck do you guys not know who Andrew Everett is? What the hell? You guys were there when he was there. I think he was there in, I want to say 2015 to probably 2018, something like that. I mean, Moose came into the promotion in 2017, so Moose should have known who he was. And Alicia Edwards has been there for years, so I don't fucking know. Anyway, so Moose then gives Andrew Everett an opportunity to leave the ring, or else he's going to put him down. Everett says that he's an exhibition wrestler, and Moose is not. And then Moose then hits Andrew Everett with a big boot. And this leads us into their match. Moose defeats Andrew Everett to retain the TNA Exhibition Championship. He wins via the powerbomb for the 1, 2, 3. And man, that was nice. The powerbomb was nice. Andrew Everett sold that shit like a damn pro. Sold it well. Okay, that's fine. Is this important? No. Ace Austin needs to win at Genesis. Because Moose fucking sucks. The same thing with Alicia Edwards. TNA, once again, the problem is their roster. Get rid of Moose, Frankie Kazarian, Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, Sami Callihan, PCO. The list goes on and on. Speaking of Sami Callihan, he was on this show as well. So, Sami approaches Santino Marella, and he wants a shot at the tag team titles with PCO. Santino says they can take on the Hardys next week in a non-title match, and if they win that, they'll be a part of the tag team title match at Genesis. Okay, that's fine. Who cares? Moving on. Jordynne Grace, she comes out next. She gets on the mic. She says she can say some of these things about Tessa Blanchard, but she doesn't. But she's nothing like Tessa Blanchard. She wants Blanchard to come out so that they can fight. And if the Knockouts division is truly Tessa's, then she'll have to just go through Jordynne Grace. So Tessa shows up. The two of them, they brawl for briefly. And security restrain both of them. Okay. Makes sense. And they are going to face each other at Genesis. Good shit. I like this. Main event of the evening. Joe Hendry and Rhino, they defeat the Nemeth brothers, Ryan Nemeth and Nic Nemeth. So, there's that. Frankie Kazarian's on commentary. So, Joe Hendry wins via the standing ovation, and that was basically it. And he stared down Nic Nemeth, and that was all that happened. So, it is what it is. It makes sense. Again, Joe Hendry needs to win come Genesis. Seriously, Joe Hendry has to win. It's Joe Hendry wins or it's bust. It's going to be a bust. So hopefully Joe Hendry wins. And it is kind of weird that for next week we're getting Masha Slamovich and Rosemary on television. I thought that was going to be at Genesis. So in my guesstimation, are we going to get maybe a rematch? Rosemary and Masha Slamovich? Are we going to get a rematch at Genesis? I don't know. The tag title stuff is fine with what they're doing with Heather and Ash by Elegance. Josh Alexander and Mike Santana, that's fine. I thought their feud was going to take place on Genesis, but it's not. But it is what it is. But TNA was okay. It was okay. But what did you guys think? Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.